Hello. So it's actually 12:12 on the clock, and those numbers have been coming through really strongly. I just had this like wave of, I have chills on my legs. So some of you may get like chills in certain parts of your body when there's some sort of alignment or synchronistic connection, message coming through, confirmation, things like this. It was like I couldn't not, 33 on the timer, push record. Like my finger was like, just like go. And then when I looked at the clock, it happened to be 12:12. So I was trying to like plan a little bit more or get more organized, do whatever my human brain thought it needed to do. And it was just like something took over me to push record. So I did wake up a little bit today, like, that expression, on the wrong side of the bed. I was just shown a book from when I was a kid. I literally even thought about this book, and I can't tell you how long. What was it? Alexander's No Good Bad Day or something. I'm not sure where that's coming through, but yeah, I did. I kind of like woke up on the wrong side of the bed, as they say, and my body just felt like heavy, and I was really tired the last few days, and I finally got a chance to just kind of like zonk a little bit. And then it was like almost like a switch went off. Like I let myself just be in that for a minute instead of trying to force myself out of it. And then I just slowly started to do things. And then all of a sudden, like my energy started to zap back. I'm not like 100%. Anyway, so this feels like a collective energy. So if you are personally going through maybe like some irritation, exhaustion, impatience, like it feels like little waves of it though, or like a time period. You may just like need a break, need a rest, let yourself sort of just, the word zonk, I never say that, but I keep hearing that. Zonk, is that even a word? Zonk out? I don't know, maybe someone uses that. I'm like tongue-tied now. Someone says that, or maybe you say that, or maybe it's something similar, because that word just doesn't sound right to me. But anyway, yeah. Also, I'm being shown someone like getting stuck in some sort of like entanglement over little things. So that could also be, that phrase, like the devil's in the details. Like maybe there's like these little things that you tend to hyper focus on. So it's kind of like the energy of like needing to, like if you're writing and you just need to like get up and walk away for a second and then come back to it. It's a very specific example, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting. Whew, my left temple just started to like pulsate, and it's like moving behind my eye. So there could be eye releases right now. I've talked about this in my last recording, but this I know I'm saying it wrong, Kazalion that I'm working through for months now. It looks like a little cyst. Well, it's not really little, but it is shrinking a little bit on my eye. So there could be like, not everyone will have that, but there may be like swelling or headaches behind the eye. There's something about like these clearing out of the eye space. Irises have been coming up so much lately. The name iris, the name meaning of iris, the reading of irises. Maybe some of you feel drawn to learn that, or maybe you already do that. I also keep hearing eye sockets. You may be doing or feeling called to do eye exercises, massage, face yoga. Like there's all these different techniques coming through. Ayurvedic practices, or TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. I heard the word mercurial, which of course is the mental plane, Mercury energy. So yeah, there's something about like kind of clearing out that space. So the 13 skulls, some of you may feel connected to that. That's been coming through a lot lately. And synchronistically, I started to feel like my body needed a certain type of like breathing. I didn't really put a name to it. I wasn't even giving it that much thought. It's just like I would go into this like certain breath. And it was like I felt like I needed to just like push things out of my body. And I was kind of like, almost like breath of fire, but a little bit differently. And then I just was doing this here and there and just doing it when I felt like I needed it. Anyway, the 13 skulls started to come up through multiple different ways. And someone named Sarah, I always get her last name. She's a QHHT person. She's been coming through my channel, on my YouTube channel a lot, like showing up. And I talked about this in another transmission where I kept seeing the name Sarah everywhere before she popped up. So I knew that there was something there for me to check out. Anyway, and she was talking about like what she does to help her sort of like not hold on to other people's and collective energy, as well as like what helps her, because like, a lot of people think I like I'm having a really hard time speaking. A lot of people tell her she looks a lot younger than her age. Anyway, so she does something. Now, mind you, I was already starting to do this and I didn't know there was a name for it. So that will happen a lot. And maybe some of you also experience this type of phenomenon where like you start to naturally do something and then information will show up to support you in some way and to expand on it and to give you information. And she said that she was doing something called, I'm probably going to butcher this, Kapalbhati breathing. and I did not know what that meant. I never heard that term. And she started to describe it. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been feeling like I've been starting to do. So then I started to look it up to maybe learn more about it, make sure I'm doing it right, et cetera, et cetera. And when I looked it up, I found this little mini article that talks about it. And it actually means skull shining breath, SKULL. So right after the skull, the 13 skull crystalline consciousness was coming through, and I was doing this breathing simultaneously. I didn't realize they were connected. And sure enough, the skull shining breath is what it's called. So some of you may feel called to do this. Maybe some of you are already doing this. Some of you may already be doing this and not know what it is. But there feels like there's some connection to this. And there was another video that she released, like a small one, this woman, Sarah, and she was talking about hormonal balance. Mind you, I'm not a medical physician, so this is from a more like emotional, spiritual perspective, or whatever word you want to use. Hormonal health has been coming up a lot lately. Again, like it kind of comes in cycles. And something that she mentioned, which I've tapped into plenty of times before, but I liked how she summarized this. One of her clients was having hormonal issues and imbalances. And when they went under QHHT and the hypnosis, the high self advice was to, and also that number 13, right? 12, 13, that's been coming through a lot. Because, the Gregorian calendar does the 12-month calendar. And, like the Mayan calendar, the number 13 is so significant. So it's basically like putting yourself back into the lunar cycles, into the natural cycles. And when I say natural, the more rhythmic, natural with nature type of cycles. And it was very simple advice, but it was basically like balancing out the circadian rhythm. And the advice for her specifically was to wake up and receive like the sunrise, sit with the sunrise, sunset, moonlight, and move the hips. And it's so funny because I think I posted about this in one of my YouTube transmissions in the last few weeks. I kept feeling really drawn to move my hips. Like sometimes even if I'm just brushing my teeth, I just like do, and I look up different things. I don't really look it up. They just kind of come in my feed online. And yeah, so I've been like I'm playing with different practices of moving my hips, like sitting, standing, on a chair, on the floor, just whatever I feel drawn to do. And so yeah, it's just funny how these things come through to us, and sometimes it can be so subtle we might miss it, So I just, even though this isn't maybe like the most groundbreaking information in terms of like, it's just sometimes the subtle, simple things, like I said, that we may even already be doing and just not even giving ourselves that like intentionality behind it. It may be different for everyone, but it felt really, really strong in the energy. So I just wanted to hone in on that. Sort of, I guess, like some of the practicality that's coming through. I never really related that to skull consciousness before, the crystalline skull consciousness, but when I tapped in, this is what I was being shown as something that wanted to come in. There's a lot also that's been coming through about like neural networks and then tapping into the crystalline grids. Something that I have been being shown for a long time when I talk about the plasma gel rings, the web of light. I've like written about some of the stuff as well, where I've been having this like basically like what I've learned over years of unfolding is like a living etheric network that I see with my own physical eyes that's been coming and getting stronger over the years. And I always get these visions of the I'll say plasma orbs, and in chelantic science it translated to plasma gel rings, and then they're all connected as if like if you crack an egg, you know, those little cracks, that's what it kind of looks like. It's like this blue network with these plasma gel orb rings that light up. And it's like the more that I continue on this experiential path, the more gel rings that I see light up. And I translate, I mean, it means a lot of things in different layers of reality. But one of the translations that always comes through is the more each of us like represent one of those plasma gel rings, like our auric field. And when we integrate, there's like this, okay, one lights up and then continuing to build on that crystalline network, the crystalline skull consciousness is coming through as like, I heard the phrase like emitting. My voice is like shaking when I say that. So not only is there emitting frequencies, but there's my teeth I just became very aware of my teeth. Like there may be a lot of like, I know I was tapping into this recently as well, like crystalline molecules, molecular structure. There's something about the teeth and minerals and remineralizing the teeth, which I've been working on for a very long time. So some of you may be also connected into that or feeling called to. I know there's a lot of like ancestral messaging and wisdom within teeth, bones, teeth. Yeah, there's something really coming through about that, the skull, the bone, the teeth. Right, like the foundation. And then as each of us continue to anchor in, that phrase was coming through Patreon yesterday, like so much. That network continues to, it's like in an obstacle or relay race, you know, like we continue to like, it's like they're showing me like a light, I'm being shown so many things. A light tower. What are those called? My mom just sent me a picture of one. You could be seeing lighthouses or something like that. So it's like each lighthouse starts to light up and then the networks from the etheric planes continue to ground in. And then there's this like communication and signals that continue getting stronger and anchor in. So yeah. Whew, that was like a mouthful. And a lot of these other epochs or civilizations that have been rising within a lot of our memories and starting to be shared, right? Just like that network, those light towers, you know, the more we each remember, then we start to share it. And there's like this grounding of information and discernment, of course, because not all of it is going to be through the most purest channel. So I think a lot of that purging and processing out of the physical body as well is part of that. And some of these more, I guess, natural rhythmic practices are coming back to help to just continue to be that purest channel, you know, like that's up to each individual one of us. So it's just the information is there when we're ready to receive it. And of course, like it may tweak a little bit for each one of us. It's like the general blueprint, and then we get to refine what's best for us. It's kind of what I'm being shown. Whew. I just took a sip of my coffee and I was shown, I was just not expecting this. Oh, and I have the chills back on my legs. So I was supposed to actually be, I had I've been doing some pet sitting again, and I had a walk scheduled for today for someone, and it canceled last minute. And it's funny because I didn't have the energy to do it. Like I was feeling really tired, like I said. And I've been doing this practice where like I'll say almost daily. Whatever's not meant for me, for the highest good of all involved, like please just like let it fall away naturally. And I did that this morning, but because I had some extra time, I added a meditation with it. I just felt like I really needed it. And then boom, that happened. And I was like, I just had a wave of relief. And then all of a sudden my energy came back and now here I am recording. So I did a little other things too, but there's just something about that, like continuing to trust, like what's meant for you will fall away, and to strengthen just like, intuition's like continuing to strengthening that. So some of you may already be doing this. Some of you may start feeling called to do it. But the song that I heard when I just took a little break to take a sip of my beverage was Afternoon Delight, which most of us probably know what that song means. If not, you can look it up. But so there's also something about like sensuality, passion. I was talking about the hips, right? So the Kundalini, like there seems to be like these dips and waves. The color orange has been coming through really strongly. Different shades of orange. I heard the word navel. Wasn't there a drink called the fuzzy navel or something? I don't know why I'm being shown that, but yeah. So there's something about like reconnecting to that part of yourself if you've been feeling a little bit disconnected, or if you're already really tapped into that sort of sensuality, sacral, like womb. The word womb was coming through yesterday over and over again. So yeah, it feels like I also heard the word riptide, and I'm seeing the color violet. There's been a lot in the energy too of like, a lot of people use the phrase glow up. So if you've been sort of, working from the inside out in terms of your glow, or I'm also seeing Amrita. Yeah, there's something about if you've been having sort of like stifled results or feeling a little bit discouraged, I feel like there's going to be a breakthrough in that realm. This is for me personally as well, I feel. And it's really interesting because sometimes the things that we're intuitively guided to do may not feel like the quote right thing, or like the last 24 hours, I was feeling, like I said, like really just heavy. And honestly, last night, what I did was nothing of what I like thought I should do. And I woke up, just like I said, feeling kind of heavy. And now all of a sudden I'm starting to feel like it's all like dropping off. So I listened to myself and it's starting to pay off, which of course that's just one example, but there's something about that too, like continuing to, or starting to, depending where you are, trust those little nudges or niggles. Also, yesterday when I was tapping into the Patreon overflow, slight shifts, blue flame transmission, I think that's what it was called. I kept being shown Sisters, and then the theme song from Sister came through. If anyone remembers that show. So like twins, sisters, maybe twin sisters, but like combinations of that. And since yesterday, like multiple different things from different people I know in my personal life, there was that energy. Like someone was talking about sisters, someone else was talking about twin sisters. Like it just kept showing up. Also, I was shown a long sleeve lace wedding dress with like a headpiece from like the late 80s, early 90s kind of thing. And then like an hour later, my mom sent me this picture from, she was like a bridesmaid for one of her like lifelong friends. And that was the outfit. So you could be like, either there's something about a wedding dress that's significant, and or you may be like really picking up on things before they're happening. This could be something that's been happening your whole life. It could be something that's starting now. There could be a deepening of it, or it could be starting to come in different ways. It may be a little like tweaked differently for each person, but it does feel like there's a strengthening for everyone. It just may manifest in different ways. Wedding dresses. Yeah, there's been a lot around wedding synchronicities. Like I've just been getting a lot of that. So the hierogamic template, that can be, of course, a more spiritual concept, excuse me, I'm like releasing through the throat, that's coming through. And when my voice was shaking earlier, tapping into that crystalline skull consciousness, the network, I keep hearing the network, my voice was shaking. There's also, that's part of the, I heard the word reinvigoration. I got chills again. Very interesting. Ribs were a really strong synchronicity. Like a week or two ago, ribs were coming up in the most insane ways. Like ribs, like the way people eat ribs, the Adam and Eve rib concept, like just over and over again. So that you could be shown that. I don't exactly still know why that was coming through so strongly. So we'll see if someone here has like, maybe someone listening will have like an insight. Feel free to share. There's just so much coming through that I'm not like sitting as much with each concept and energetic strand. I'm just kind of letting it unfold. Okay, I was talking about the left temple, and I just went back into my notes because this whole first 20 minutes, I didn't even look at my notes once. I just tapped into the energy and let everything unfurl. Roller coasters were coming through a lot. You could be seeing like roller coaster, symbolism. And I had written down, I don't even know how long ago, maybe a week or so ago, left temple, 22 strands, swan grid. Swans have also been coming through a lot. So some of you may feel like they're showing me the 13 skulls again in the consciousness, and you may be feeling like you are, if you're into DNA, like tapping into your 22 strand DNA or the swan grid, which is supposed to be representative of the 22 strands and the crystalline earth grids. So you may be seeing like 22 or 222 to confirm some of this for you if you haven't already. Swans, temple, movement, visions, pain, releases, twitches. I also wrote down devotion, Krishna, and Radha. So yeah, that word devotion, that's been coming through quite a bit as well. So whether it's romantic love, multiple areas of life, it feels like there's something that you've been feeling called to be devoted to yourself, the hierogamic path, template, activation, all these different layers that are coming through as like the devotional aspect. And this feels like bigger than just this current incarnation. A client has, we've been kind of going back and forth with a lot of connections, and she was bringing through, if you listen to this, you'll know who you are. Thank you. She was bringing through her connection to like essentially tapping into, I think she called it the fruits of the fruits of labor for those who feel called to these sort of more like unearthed paths, like co-creating and anchoring in these subtle realms that don't always look very obvious, if you will. And fruits of labor was something that she had bringing through in connection to 12 stones, the 12 tribes. And I've talked about the Essenes quite a bit off and on, which I always connect to the Essenes. And I was talking about Othala, how for me it's been coming through the rune Othala. And I think I talked more about this in one of the last transmissions. In the thumbnail, it was like very, like not the last one I posted, but I think the one before that. And in the thumbnail, I literally have Othala in the thumbnail. And I go more into that as the idea of like, if you want to call it like ancestral inheritance or spiritual inheritance, that sort of phrasing realm has been coming through the last year or so, I would say, very strongly. So some of you may be feeling also some of this, and it does feel connected to that word devotion, like the devotional aspect of the self. Seraphim mirror ray is something I also wrote down. I've been seeing that a lot. Seraphim. Wow, I meant to say seraphim, but I'm being shown seafoam green. So there could be a connection to seafoam green, that color, or the aqua ray and the seraphim mirror ray. There seems to be something there. And the violet, that I was seeing the color violet earlier. I was looking around and I was just seeing these like violet streams of light like rising up from the floor. This was like right before I started recording. And you won't believe it. Right under that, I promise you, I wrote this so long ago and I didn't even look. It says purple, channel the light, shout out. Oversoul descending in body. Okay, well, there you go. So a lot of you may feel like you may be grounding in the seraphim ray through the ultraviolet light. And I'm now being reminded, I love how this happens. My sister video chatted. We have like a group chat with my mom and my sister. And my nephew, who I was just with for like a month recently, he was in my dream last night. And I remembered when I woke up, but then I was doing other things. And so when my sister video chatted us, when I saw his face, I was like, oh, August, you were in my dream last night. And he is so cute. And he's like, I remembered my dream too. He's 3.5. So he was telling me that his dream, he remembered, was a green fish. He calls water agua, in the agua, in water. It was like jumping into the water. No, it wasn't a green fish. It was a green bird. So fish, birds, dreaming of fish or birds. But in my dream, he was, I remembered as soon as I saw him, he was talking about, so this person, I don't know who it was. I wasn't even going to talk about this, but it's coming through really strongly. It was a man. I want to say he was like in his mid-30s, early 40s. And I was back in Costa Rica. You know how dreams, like I call it astral physics, didn't really make sense. I was like kind of back in Costa Rica, but then it was like phasing in and out of different places. And I stayed at an artist residence in Costa Rica, so it was kind of like that again. And when I was there, I went into these like different rooms, and in one of the rooms, this guy was talking about these crystal wands that he was preserving in some way. But when he showed them to me, they didn't look all like wands. Like there were other shapes that it wasn't even all crystal. And I was like, really? These are all crystal wands? And he was like, well, it's something about the energy connected to each one that like acts as the wand, something like this nature. And my nephew happened to just appear out of nowhere, and he was there. And I was talking about the ultraviolet angelic ray. And there is Steve Noble. It has a YouTube channel. Some of you may know him. And he does a lot of these transmissions. And he talks about the ultraviolet angelic ray is the way. I'm not sure how he phrases it exactly. But this is something I've been tapping into for a really long time. So when I heard Steve Noble talk about it, it just gave me, I guess, like extra validation or confirmation. So it came through my dream last night, and my nephew was like smiling when that phrase came up. And in the dream, this man, I still don't know who he is or was. I don't remember too much what he looked like, but he was very busy. He was so busy, and he was basically like, I need these wands, these crystal wands, to be like, I know something has happened to them, but I'm too busy to figure it out. And he had them kind of like on a shelf that the energy felt very cluttered. And I was like, I think they need to be in a place, in a specific pattern, and where it doesn't feel so cluttered. And he's like, he just kept saying, it's kind of like the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, when the rabbit was so busy and was like, I have to go. And like was kind of giving instructions, but also like running away. It was like that. Like he just kept saying how busy he was and he had to go. But then, so I was like left with these, I'm using air quotes, like crystal wands, even though most of them weren't even wands. I remember there was one that was sort of like an orangey tangerine kind of color. And so I was tapping into the energy, and I was shown like the directions, like north, south, east, west. And I was like, but I don't really know how to tell the directions. So I was feeling pressure to like get it right. And it was funny because in the dream, I just kept hearing, like, you don't have to think about it. You already know. Just set them up the way you feel called, and it's going to be, that's exactly what they need. And I was just like, okay. But every time I tried to find a space to put them in the dream, there was like too much clutter. So there's a lot of information coming through this. Some of you may feel your own inner knowing that would be speaking to you through this transmission. So I'm not going to like over translate it at the moment, but I'll just let things sort of unfold like I said before. And one of the strongest things that I feel, some of you, this may be like something you're going through right now, and some of you may be helping others with this. Some of you may be receiving, we can look at the crystalline consciousness, right? So these activations, upgrades, etc. And some of you may be receiving like physical, like stewardship or guardianship of something. Some of you may be feeling called to like make crystal grids in some way, like physically, whether it's through art, drawing it, light codes. It's coming through in so many different ways through so many different people, which is very beautiful. I'm being shown like a snowflake, and they say that each individual snowflake is unique, right? Like it's not like any other one. I'm having such a hard time speaking. And my thumbnail, what's it called? Thumbprint. Well, nails could be significant actually, but thumbprint also, right? It's unique, but when you look at the snow falling and then it covers a landscape, you just really do see snow. It all just looks like snow. But then when you get into each individual flake, that's where the uniqueness comes in. So that's kind of the energy of what I'm being shown right now. But then of course, when you start to integrate a lot of these DNA codes, the crystalline consciousness, etc., like when you look at snow, you may not just see white snow anymore, you might start seeing light codes or different colors. You might see different movements through the elemental kingdom. You might start seeing angelic beings coming through. It will be something that some of you may already be experiencing this again. Some of you may be getting activated into this. But yeah, that's coming through really strongly. Oh yeah. A few overflows ago and YouTube transmissions, Black Diamond Pearl was coming through really strongly. And then I was picking up on that song that I hadn't heard in so long, Black Diamonds and Pearls. I think it's the Fugees, but I'm not positive. And I was like, why is this coming around? Like, I haven't heard this in forever. And then like within a week or a few days, I can't remember exactly, I flew back into Florida and I took an Uber to where I was going. And in the Uber, that song came on. And I was like, of course that came on. But the interesting part is my Uber driver was having a very hard time that day. He got in an argument with another passenger because I called a share. It's a long story. But he also drove to a different location. And he couldn't find me right away. So there was just like a lot of issues with this Uber. Like he was having a very rough time. And then when that song came on, is almost right when he realized he was going to the wrong location and then turned around to get back on track. So there could be something connected to that energy. Some of you may feel like you're off track, and this came through a different message. And when I mentioned that phrase, channel the light and the color purple, there is a YouTube channel. She got Channel the Light. And she was talking about the dissension of the monadic aspect into the physical vessel through the color purple. And I also have been talking about this for a very long time, but for some reason I just felt like I should mention her. And I think I did like monadic integration or monadic descension like a while ago in this channel, so there could be messages in there for some of you, but I just wanted to shout her out because I don't know her, she doesn't know me. I just felt the need to do that. Okay, next thing. I was talking about something else. Oh, feeling like you're off track. Yeah, so there was another reader I was listening to today, Mystic Rose, I think she calls herself. And she was talking about that as well. Like you may feel like you're off track, like especially in the beginning of this transmission, I was talking about like potential frustration or heaviness. And I had written down for myself like maybe like a week or two ago, that this upcoming month may feel a little bit slower in terms of like progress, because like there was some kind of decompression that I needed to go through. and to remind myself of that if I felt like I was off track. So then today Mystic Rose came through with this message of like, do you feel like you're off track because you're not? And I was like, oh, thank you so much. See, sometimes we need these reminders. So some of you may be going through something like that. Like maybe you knew that there was going to be some sort of like either slowdown, or for some of you, maybe it's a speed up, it depends. And you just needed a reminder that like you had a heads up, and maybe you're just kind of needed that. Yeah. Just like that reminder of the wedding dress, I haven't checked my list that I've been making for this transmission I've been building up for, and I'd already written down wedding symbolism. So remember I was talking about that? So again, these like, there's something about these reminders coming in case we get kind of caught up in the moment, and we're not even just caught up in the moment, like there's a lot going on right now. So I'm hearing it's very understandable, and that's why we get to have these reminders. And they're showing me those etheric template networks again. And the more of us that continue to like show up and share, like the more if you want to call it like separation and or competition frequencies are becoming less potent, because we see that like there's a network of being in this to work together more so. And sure, healthy competition, I don't think that we need to get rid of that completely. That's not what I'm saying, but there is something about tapping more into like allowing us to continue to receive and give and receive, you know, through these living light grid networks. You may be seeing repeating 6s, 1s, 11, 11, and sirens. I just heard a horn beep when I said that. Oh, see, I even have written down right here, stillness integration for the next month or two that I wrote down recently. And again, I just needed that little reminder. Turkey tail and turkey, that's been coming through a lot. I've been talking about that. And I also found these more interestingly shaped feathers that I haven't seen in a long time. And they were black. One was like all black, and the other one was like a lot of black. So you may be finding black feathers. And the number 444 is also coming through. Cherries. Lots of cherry symbolism. Okay, the other day, I kept hearing this theme song in my head, and I didn't know what it was from at first. It was like, dun, 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 dun. And I knew it was like an opening for a movie. I thought it was Paramount, but it actually wound up being Century Fox, the 20th Century Fox theme opening. I did find it. I don't know. That was coming through like so loudly in my head. So you could be seeing like fox symbolism. It feels like there's so many messages through that coming through. I just noticed where I'm staying, there's a deodorant. The flavor is cool. Do you say flavor for deodorant? The scent, Cool Rush. I don't know why my eyes focused in on that. So it's funny because I was getting the word Riptide too with violet, and this deodorant is like that aqua color I was talking about. So interesting. I just heard brands. Some of you may be like working on a personal brand in some way, and that dun, 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 whatever, that feels connected to a personal brand, whether you're working with like other brands, but like building your own brand. Again, it will manifest differently for each of you, but the overall theme seems to be the word brand or personal brand is coming through. And then I was about to say, and to keep going, and I promise you, I just looked down at my notes and I literally wrote down, keep going, 14, temperance. So you could be seeing the temperance card, 1414, rebalancing is coming through. I also wrote down rosewood, 333, flash, and passion. And I was talking about that passion earlier. I completely forgot about this. The song from Toni Braxton, throwback. I forget what it's called, but So Hot. There may be messages for you in that song, like in the lyrics. And it was coming through. Obviously, it's like about like romantic stuff, for lack of a better word. But I also got like a passion energy from it, which again is coming through that, yeah, it's like a revival of passion, or to keep going with your passions. Like that's coming through so strongly. So that felt very layered as well. And the phrase like light my fire, so songs with that phrasing or verbiage, or poems like that also. So you may be seeing that, or you will be soon. You may be getting a lot of telepathic communication right now, and or that will be coming through soon. Oh, another message that came through, like the eyes. Yeah, the word wisdom has been coming through. Wisdom keepers, keepers of a certain ray, keepers of a guardian, like the guardian consciousness of something. So in Keylontic science, the guardian, if you're familiar with this, the guardians are like basically the creation, the beings that create. Some people call it like the original angelic crystalline blueprint. So there is this I was getting this earlier, like Guardian-Stewardship type of energy that's really being activated right now through this 13 crystalline skull consciousness. And I had written down that Hellllo I was talking about, the eye, or just like eye releases, again, swelling, whatever's coming through the eyes, whether it's you or someone you're connected to, or just a feeling or a knowing. I was reminded of the Tin Man. So again, the Hellllo, or whatever it's called, is a clogged oil duct. And I was reminded of the Tin Man, that they needed oil because they were so stiff after a while. So there's something about that coming through. And I just remembered. Okay, I wrote down, I had this dream recently that my eye cleared up and it was gone. This cyst thing, the blocked oil duct, and my face looked different, a little bit different. And I have been doing a lot of like face massage and stuff, but this feels like a collective energy, because not only did my face look a little bit different, my eyes were less, there's a name for when your eyes start to droop, I can't remember, but my eyes were more open, like widened, and I had this, like I was like lighting up in the dream. So that feels like a collective energy, like as we continue again through this area of release, like that internal glow up feels like it's coming in for a lot of us. If you already feel like I already feel like this has been coming through in different ways for myself. So there could be, like different stages of this. So yeah. Oh yeah, gray animals, gray cats in particular, have been coming through very strongly. Owls and Athena, Freya, the Norse goddess. Also squash. And I saw this bird, I still don't know what it was. It reminded me of a sandpiper. It had like the same beak as a sandpiper. It was brown, but it had a little bit of iridescence, and it was pretty small. And it flew next to me yesterday, and it just stayed. Like we were just like looking at each other for a really long time. And there was an oracle card. I think it's the Sandpiper, Be Playful, from the Animal Oracle deck. Colette Baron Reed, I think her name is. Sometimes her cards come through. So yeah, there is this energy of playfulness that seems to be playfulness and like following what gives you a spark. I'm going to use my mom as an example. She is decluttering her home right now that her husband lived in since 1989. So imagine that. And she's selling the house and going through and, So she's selling things, and she's like, I learned today, or in the last few days, like when I sell something, like I love it. Like to the research behind what I'm selling. And then when I make that sale, she's like, I just get a spark of, like, I get a jolt, like an electric jolt. So there's something about that, like following what literally gives you that like spark, you know? Even if she doesn't know like where it's going to lead, but she's like, I just love this so much. And she always has, but she's like realizing now, I'm stuttering again. I really do feel like there's something about, I'm not really being shown exactly why what this is, but I do feel something connected to that. Okay, I think I'm going to call it here. Oh, the word rehearsal. And again, the swan. I cannot believe I wrote this down because I completely forgot. Ugly duckling swan story, shamanic journey, path behind the path. So, and the word rehearsal. Yeah, that word has been coming up a lot. So it does feel like this could come through in a lot of ways. I actually am attending a wedding rehearsal soon. So it could be like physically for some of you. There also could be something you are rehearsing. You could feel like you've been like rehearsing for something, even if it's not obvious. And then I wrote 2 weeks time frame. So it feels like whatever it is that this rehearsal energy is coming. It's funny because I wrote this a while ago, and I'm pretty sure the rehearsal that I'm going to is in 2 weeks. Something like that. Very interesting. But yeah, so it feels like you won't be rehearsing forever, basically, is what I'm hearing. And this ugly duckling swan story, when I first started tapping into shamanic practices, I found this woman online. She's amazing. Her name is Anna. And this was like a long time ago, maybe like 2017, maybe 2018. And basically she brought through different things. And something that kept coming through for me was, I kept saying the path behind the path. Like when I would go into the shamanic journey, I kept going to this path behind the path that I would go to. And at that time, when I lived in Philly, I would walk to the river, and there was a path, and I would always find this little path behind the path. And then I was using that actual location to start my shamanic journeys. And she said there was like great significance to that. So this is a long time ago, but I still remember. Anyway, so there could be something significant to this. Like you may feel like I was speaking earlier about, like you may feel like you take metaphorically the path behind the path. Some of you may be feeling called to shamanic practices, and or you may resonate with the ugly duckling story, and it's like the swan era is birthing. And it's back to that 22 DNA strands that are coming through and connecting through the swan grids and the swan constellation. Cygnus. So some of you may connect to the celestial energy through Cygnus. Yeah, it feels like there is so much more, but I think I'm going to call it here. And I will be doing an overflow on Patreon. Oh wow, I did write down in my notes about the egg and the shell that I used as that example, so I completely forgot I wrote that down, but I'm glad it came through anyway. Also, when I was receiving a note to talk about telepathic communication for the collective, I felt like I had a pinch, like someone pinched me above my left ankle. So you could be feeling like phantom pinches as well. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I'll be tapping into for the overflow, but if you feel so called, the link will be in the description box. Okay, thank you. Oh yes, mangosteen and lychee were also coming through very strongly.